Ay, ay, ay. This is why Donald Trump can win elections. And this is one of the reasons. One of the reasons we've discussed this many times. One of the reasons is you've got somebody like President Musk who is clearly on his side and wanted him to win. So what did he do? He spent $44 billion to buy a website so he could basically turn it into the cesspool that he wanted, a far right wing ecosystem that will get the message out to more people than anything on the left. And there's clear suppression of anybody that talked positively about Democrats or people on the left. Those accounts were being suppressed. They were being suspended. They were being blocked. They were being shadow banned. There was all kinds of things happening with those on the left. Everything on the right was being amplified, and everything Elon Musk said was being doubly amplified. He wanted to make sure everybody that had a Twitter account that did not block him was able to see what he had to say. And he was spreading more disinformation than anybody on his little platform. And you would say, man, $44 billion sounds like a lot for a site that after he bought it wound up losing, what was it, over almost 70% of its value. I mean, Twitter now is worth maybe 10 billion, 13 billion, something in that range. He bought it for $44 billion. He tried to buy it for less. He tried to sue and buy it for less, and he did win that lawsuit. So he had to buy it for the 44 billion. But it is these tech bros who all of a sudden now are all on Donald Trump's side. And they are not only spending the money to make sure that he wins, because Elon Musk also spent another $270 million in campaign financing for Donald Trump to help him win this election. But you have these tech bros, and then you also have these podcasters now. The number 2 podcaster on Spotify now. He has been dropped, thankfully, and I hope he continues to drop, because this is somebody I cannot fucking stand, and this is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had Mark Zuckerberg on the other day, and I can just tell. I feel like I can read human beings pretty well. Mark Zuckerberg is just saying the things that he knows that Joe Rogan wants to hear. Listen to this clown and listen to these two just talk to each other like this is some breaking story and news that everybody should know now. And just listen.
That I was just referring to. I mean, a lot of this is documented. I mean, because Jim Jordan and the House had this whole investigation and committee into the kind of government censorship around stuff like this. And we produced all these documents, and it's all in the public domain. I mean, basically, these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse. And it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we, but I think,
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails, the emails are published. It's all kind of out there. And,
I wonder how interested Joe Rogan is about the phone call Donald Trump made to the Georgia election officials to try to find him 11,000 votes. You fucking idiot.
And they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They want us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know. Then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow.
I'm not. First of all, there was a lot of stuff that was going on in Facebook in 2020, and they were trying to blame Joe Biden. There was a problem, though, that Joe Biden wasn't president in 2020. Donald Trump was president in 2020. But anyway, I never seen more grown men just bowing down to these people. And I guess, I'm not certainly in position to own something like Facebook. So obviously, Mark Zuckerberg is looking out for his company and just making sure that he's on the good side of somebody who is deranged and lunatic and could potentially hurt his website. So maybe he is looking out, but at the same time, I mean, there's also part of you that's an American, and maybe stand up a little bit against anything that anything like that, just so you can hold on to your company, hold on to your money. To me, again, that's a little disappointing, but money is ruling everything right now. And this is what's going to happen to this country. We've already had the people who make the most amount of money. They are already dominating the atmosphere, the political atmosphere. They were spending money on politicians. Citizens United is probably the worst decision that the Supreme Court has ever made, which allows basically lots and lots of money into politics, where it used to be restricted on how much money that people could give to as donations and stuff like that. But now you can, again, as you just heard, Elon Musk spent over $240 million in this last election, which is absurd. You shouldn't be able to buy elections. You shouldn't be able to buy politicians. And the fact that we now allow this, and that it's gotten to a point where the richest person in the entire world is now controlling what is happening. He is sitting in on, he is not an elected official. He has not been elected to anything. And he's sitting in on meetings with world leaders, the richest man in the world. How does that not bother you or scare you or concern you? That I'll never understand. But a couple more Joe Rogan clips. I don't know how old everybody is when you who's watching this, but if you're at least my age, maybe 45 or older, you knew how big Mel Gibson was in the day. Mel Gibson was gigantic. He was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. I mean, the Lethal Weapon series alone made him just a major, major star, and everybody loved Mel Gibson. This guy's off his rocker now. I mean, he's absolutely crazy and he's nuts. And what a perfect venue and a perfect place for him to go than the Joe Rogan show. Because the Joe Rogan show is something where you have two people sitting across from each other and they're talking with this intellectual affect, right? Like, it's everything that they're saying is very intellectual and like, never thought of that before. Thank God the Joe Rogan show, the guy who is a failed comedian and hosted a game show where people ate worms, that people are literally sitting down and watching and going, what an intellectual conversation. This is so smart. But this is Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson. And Mel Gibson is talking about these friends of his that had cancer. And boy, listen to the good news of the stories of the people that he knew had cancer. Has a very good ending.
A good story.
Okay.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all.
So weird.
And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
What is he doing? What's this whole shtick he's doing?
Ivermectin. Fenbendazole. Yeah. I'm hearing that a lot.
They just
sure you are, Joe.
something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that
people drinking methylene blue and stuff like that.
Yeah, methylene blue, which was a fabric dye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a textile dye. And now they find out it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
Joe Rogan learned the word mitochondria a while back, and now he likes to bring it up for everything.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
There's a lot of stuff that does work, which is very strange because, again, it's profit. When you hear about things that are demonized and that turn out to be effective, you always wonder, well, what is going on here? How is our medical institutions, how have they failed us so that things that do cure you are not promoted because they're not profitable?
There is no proof that it cures you. Sure, there could be studies about these things to see if they would work in any capacity on the human body. And the fact that there are studies, he even said it himself, that studies are being done. Who are the studies being done by? They're being done by the medical societies and the medical institutions. So if they're doing these studies, then how can you make this case that they're hiding this because it's not a money maker? How could a cancer cure not be a money maker? What are you talking about? See, this is the problem with Joe Rogan and his audience that listens to him. The problem is that sometimes every once in a while, and I don't even know if this is true or not because I'm not a Joe Rogan fan. I just hear him and I hear the clips, but there's a possibility that he could be having conversations with somebody that's qualified, not Mel Gibson, but somebody that's qualified, like an actual doctor or somebody like that, that could give information that could be true or have some truth to it. The problem with the Joe Rogan show is everything's a conspiracy. Everything. The government is holding this from us. They're not telling you this. They're not telling you that. Me, Joe Rogan, the failed comedian and host of Fear Factor and who yells at UFC fights. I am the guy that's going to figure all this out for you. But when every single thing that comes out of your mouth is a conspiracy theory, at some point, doesn't somebody stop themselves and go, all right, maybe this is a little too over the top for me. Joe, I get the shtick. I'm out. I'm not listening to this garbage anymore. And it appears as he is slipping a little bit because who is it? Jason Kelsey's wife now has the #1 podcast on Spotify. I'm happy to hear that. Here's Joe and Mel Gibson talking about evolution.
Thoughts on evolution?
Wow.
I don't understand the shtick here. First of all, we know he's a far, far right religious nut. And we know he doesn't believe in evolution. And Joe knows that too. So I'm not even sure why they asked him the question other than to get this show of an answer.
The Darwin thing?
Yeah.
I don't really go for it.
No?
Yeah. Ice Age, dinosaurs, what did they turn into? I mean, things became extinct at some point. I don't think I was some kind of legless thing that crawled out of the ocean. I don't think I came from that. I think I was created.
I don't mind if you believe in creationism. That's fine with me. I mean, there's a lot of people in this country that do believe in that. And, that's perfectly fine. But like I said, I think what bothers me the most is that Joe Rogan is one of the most listened to and influential people, especially with younger men in this country. And if you see the result of what happened in this prior election, you saw more younger men went out and voted for Donald Trump than they did the last time. And when now you have somebody like Joe Rogan is fully on your side, and you also have the right-wing ecosystem, again, the right-wing propaganda ecosystem, he bleeds into that. So it's kind of like a, what do you call those? The, 1 second, let me do something here. Okay. It's like those, the drugs that you start taking that, aren't that big of a deal, but then they lead to something bigger. That's what Joe Rogan is. Joe Rogan is somebody that bleeds into these far right-wing ecosystems, and now they're all together. And that is the ecosystem that made the biggest push for Donald Trump at the end of this election. Again, had Kamala Harris maybe had 3 more months, had they been able to get out there a little bit more, I swear, I've said this before, if they don't take this opportunity now to go out and go on these shows so they can counter everything that's being said about them, make sure they show up on the shows, challenge them if they're not going to invite you on their show. Continue to challenge them every single day and say, hey, Joe Rogan, I've asked numerous times to be on your show. You seem to only want to have the people on your show that are going to agree with everything that you say. So why won't you have somebody that might want to counter what either a guest said or what either you said? Why would you not want to have that? If Joe Rogan is as brilliant as his listeners think he is, they would probably say, yeah, Joe, have him on. Let's see what happens. And let's see if Joe does have him on. But, and that doesn't just go for Joe Rogan. That goes for everybody. I've been told for a long time, Joe Rogan's really a liberal. It seemed at one point that he did have some liberal views. In fact, he was somebody big on on climate change. I don't have the clip, but there was a clip of him talking to Mel Gibson about climate change. Now, all of a sudden, he's making fun of it and that it's they tried to scare you with this climate change. So, again, that's another reason why I don't respect Joe Rogan. I don't have a problem with somebody having a view on something and then changing their mind after educating themselves about it. But to completely flip on every single thing that you've believed in, to me, that doesn't make you smart. That makes you weak.